Well, we appreciate you coming on Town Talk. Figured we start off and ask you the tough question of why'd you want to run for Chelmsford School Committee?
Well, you know, Joe, it's really not a tough question, and I can appreciate everybody asking me why I'm doing it, and I'm so busy, and how could you do this? But I'm running because I'm not too happy with what I see right now, Joe. You know, since July, really, July 2nd, you started hearing reports about deficits and problems within the system, and then it really came to a head in October when we find out we're almost $900,000 behind, and I'm just a little concerned. And I've always been someone that has been active in the community. You know, Joe, I've been coaching football, I've been mentoring our kids on the Papuana field and at the high school for almost 10 years now, and not a lot of people know that, Joe, but I would travel from my work at the middle of the day at 2 o'clock and go to the high school field at 3 and coach till 5:30 and then cross over to Parker and coach till 8:30 at night. Because I believe in our system, I believe in our kids. And I'm excited to now, as a concerned parent, as an involved parent, to step up to the plate and do something that's really important. And right now, I think our community needs this. You know, Joe, what I think is important too is our reputation. I'm starting to hear now from real estate brokers, as a matter of fact, that people are starting to move to Wested because they perceive the education system is better over there, and that just disappoints me. You know, perception is everything, Joe, and the fact that people are moving over to Westford, why? Because they're hearing things that they don't feel comfortable with, and I want to be a part of that change. Been in our town for 45 years, Joe. I'm passionate about Chelmsford. I'm passionate about the kids. I get involved immediately, and I love it, and I love it. And being the CEO of my company, I think I can allocate my time better than anyone and be able to leave if there's a crisis. I have a great team in my organization. So I think I'm the right candidate. I know I'm the right candidate.
Now, I've heard you talk about leadership, right? You've obviously been a coach for students on the football field. Can you talk a little bit about mentoring those kids and how that's, you know, that plays a part in your leadership abilities?
You know, Joe, those kids, ages 10 to 17 years old, whether it's Papuana, being the president of Papuana, or being at the high school, you know, Joe, they make me run to practice because it's not just the sport that we're teaching, it's life lessons. And I try to teach those kids life lessons. And those are the biggest reasons why I coach, is because of the life lessons I instill in those young men. Now, I'm just fortunate enough to be coaching football because that's a background that I'm familiar with. But make no mistake about it, Joe. Every teacher, every sport, whether it's performing arts, whether it's cross country, whether it's soccer, whether it's any activity in Chelmsford, those kids have a mentor. They look up to somebody. And many times, and we're lucky enough to come from the, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best school systems in the valley, if not the area, and those kids need mentors. So whether you're a coach or you're a teacher, it's the same thing. If you care about kids and you want to be around kids, you want to step up and do the right thing.
Right.
And that's what I believe in leadership, Joe. That's what leadership is all about.
One of the hardest things I ever did is I did the breast cancer 3-day. And in order to do that program, you have to raise $2,000 to be a part of it. And everybody said to me, Joe, why do you want to raise all this money for breast cancer awareness? It's going to be really hard. You know, why don't you just, you know, go do something a little bit simpler? So, yeah, I put a lot of time and effort, and I ended up raising $10,000 out, which I thought was fantastic.
It's unbelievable.
You brought in $500,000 for turf fields. Tell me about that process. Tell me what motivates you, because I can tell you $10,000 seemed like an unbelievable feat to me. $500,000 seems like just unbelievable.
You know, Joe, I have been one of many people that have tried to bring turf fields or synthetic fields to Chelmsford. Not just for the kids, although that was my driving force, but because of the community, because of the environment we set. I think what's one of the greatest things and the greatest feelings I have is on a Sunday afternoon, I drive by McCarthy right now, and I see the elderly, I see families, I see people with their dogs and playing in the field or walking around that track. That's a big deal to me, Joe, because I'm passionate about it. But you're right. Paul Cohen came to me, and he tapped me on my shoulder, and he said, Sal, from the private sector, would you be willing to spearhead the effort to raise $500,000? And I didn't even blink twice, Joe. I said, absolutely. He said, you know, Sal, here's the problem, though. We need it in 7 months. I said, no problem at all. Now, this wasn't just my organization or a few organizations writing a check. Joe, this was a grassroots effort by everybody, from the police department to the kids to the community. We did everything to raise $500,000, and we did it in 7 months. I've never seen that in any other community. I'm thrilled to be a part of it. I'm thrilled to be associated with it. But that's what it's all about when you talk about leadership and you talk about effort. I don't know anybody, any organization that has raised $500,000 in 5s and 10s in 7 months. That's amazing to me. But all along this great journey I've been on, it's been those challenges that every time one of these challenges come across, I get excited to become a part of it, and I roll up my sleeves and I go to work.
We have a very popular message board, community board here in Chelmsford, the In Town Report. There I skim through it. I read people's comments, questions, concerns. One of the things that gets brought up, and I don't know, fairly or unfairly, you get tied with the current superintendent. People say, is Sal Lupoli going to be able to hold Frank Tiano accountable? And is he gonna have the leadership ability to be able to do that? What's your response to those people and to the community in regards to that?
Joe, this race is about leadership. I am a leader. I started my company right out of college. I never worked for anyone. I started at the age of 23 years old. We built an organization up to almost 50 retail stores, almost 1,000 people. Joe, you can't do that without leadership. But leadership comes with a responsibility of making tough decisions when it calls for. You don't have the luxury to be on each side of the fence. You're not really a leader there, Joe. A leader is somebody that can listen to the situation, ask advice from his team, and make swift decisions. I know Frank Tiano. I think he's a wonderful man. He's brilliant. He's been passionate about our community. But Frank Tiano has been the captain of this ship. There's something wrong. And what upsets me more than anything is the lack of information, the lack of transparency, the lack of accountability. So there are certain questions that I still can't get the answers to that disappoint me, but I will tell you this. I'm not running to save anybody's job. I'm not running because there might be somebody that's on a board that supports me or I'm going to follow some agenda. You can't accomplish what we've accomplished within our family, and my organization is my family, without having strong leadership. Joe, nobody tells me what to do. They can make suggestions. I follow nobody just because it's a good idea or because they're a good friend. What's best for the kids is going to be my decision. And if it's best for the kids to make hard decisions, Joe, I won't even blink. I'll make those hard decisions.
Now, is it just the financial crisis that motivated you to run, or are there other issues above and beyond just the financial crisis that have really, brought your candidacy?
Joe, there was a financial crisis. And up until this point, we're still trying to figure out what happened, how it happened, and why it happened. But we brought on Mr. Antonelli, who's been brilliant. And that's what happens when you bring good leadership and you surround yourself with quality people. Do I see a financial crisis, or do I see deficits in the future, or do I see anything like this ever to happen again? I don't feel that's the case, because I think the board realizes some of the mistakes that were made. I think their eyes open, and some of the board members admit they didn't even read certain documents they just signed. I don't see this in the future as a financial crisis. Joe, this is a leadership issue right now. Moving forward, are you going to surround yourself with the right people on this board? Are you going to be part of the process that hires leaders in our community to make sure they have the right tools in their toolbox? So, Joe, I see this strictly in the future, moving forward: leadership, leadership, leadership.
Now, you've been you've gone back to school. I think you've gone to the MIT School of Management. Is that true?
Well, Joe, I just think that speaks volumes of what I believe in education. Imagine a company that I started from scratch. 25 years later, the CEO of the company, myself, decided to go back to school to get his MBA. In 2011 and 2012, for 1 year straight, every single day, I drove to Cambridge for 14 hours a day almost, Joe, and I got my MBA. Why? because you can never stop learning. And that's what I try to educate and teach and mentor these young adults. The day you think you stop learning is probably the stupidest day of your life, Joe, or the poorest decision you can make. Every day you can learn, and I lead by example, and I tell my kids within my organization, learn, learn, learn. And when I'm on that field and when I'm around our kids in our system, education is critical. You know, Joe, I hear so many people that get out of high school or get out of the Chelmsford programs and they say, I want a good job. I don't feel that way, Joe. I don't want our kids to have good jobs. Joe, I want them to have great careers. That's what I want. And the only way you can do that is furthering education. At the age of 46 years old, Joe, I went back to school every single day for 14 months in order to get my MBA, because that's what I think about education. I'm passionate about it, Joe.
Now, hopefully you can take some of that and apply it towards you know, what we're doing here. One of the things that's always brought up is Chelmsford is somewhat underfunded from a state perspective. Chapter 70 funding somewhat leaves Chelmsford with less resources than other communities. Is there any you know, initiatives or anything you can do on that front to help the school system?
Well, first of all, Joe, I don't think anybody can guarantee me or any involved parent, of which I am, or anybody in the community, I don't know if anybody can say, I promise or I guarantee that Chelmsford is getting every reimbursement, every grant, and every quarter from Chapter 70 from the state of Massachusetts we're going to get. If somebody can guarantee me that, then I'll feel better. But the truth of the fact is, it's about building relationships. It's about making sure Chelmsford, and this is one of the things that I think I can do exceptionally well, Joe. Along my journey, I've built a lot of relationships, and a lot of them have to do with Boston and local politicians and even federal politicians. I'm going to make sure Chelmsford gets every quarter they deserve. And if I have to go down to Boston with our team, with the school committee, and shake some trees, I can promise you I'll do that. But I will make sure that we get every quarter we deserve, because that's part of the problem. I hear so many times, Joe, this phrase, and it boggles my mind. Since 2005, I think, or earlier, we've been running at a deficit over there. You hear a phrase, we have to do more with less. I don't understand that, Joe. First of all, I don't understand how we can't find a way to balance our budget. We need to do that. And we're not going to raise taxes. I think that's the worst thing you can do. And I've heard some suggestions. Hey, Sal, you know, you should put a campaign together to raise taxes. Raise taxes on the elderly? Really? You want to raise taxes on the hardworking people? Why? How about we make sure that we're running our business the right way, and our business is to educate our kids because they're our customers. And let's not forget that, Joe. And then secondly, let's make sure that our local politicians, our federal politicians, are making sure Chelmsford is getting their fair share. And that's all I want to do, Joe. I want to use my resources, use the relationships I've built over the years, and be able to go to those politicians and say, hey, make sure Chelmsford gets their fair share.
Now, typically when you're CEO of a company, you're usually, you know, pretty busy. How approachable are you going to be for the residents of Chelmsford that have concerns or questions or even general input on school-related issues?
You know, Joe, since I decided to enter the race for school committee, I put up a website, I put up a Facebook. Within the website and the Facebook, there's a FAQ of things that I care deeply about or people might have concerns, but there's also an opportunity to voice your concerns. Joe, I put my phone number on the website. I'm listed. I'll tell you right now, votesal.org, go onto that site right now. Tell me what your thoughts are. I've already gone through a couple of precincts. I've made the calls myself. My call starts with, what can we do to make our town better? What can we do to change the perception? As a matter of fact, we have a wonderful guest that's coming on in a little while. I didn't even realize Janice was going to be on the show. I happened to call her tonight and leave a message with her. So it's really, I'm very accessible. I've always been accessible. You can't be part of this community and do the things that our organization or our family has done. You know, Joe, I was very accessible when I helped spearhead the community center over at McCarthy. We built a $120,000 building at a zero cost to the taxpayers of Chelmsford. The synthetic fields, in less than 7 months, we raised $500,000. We redid the entire fitness center for all of the athletes and all of the administration and all of the students at Chelmsford High very quietly and named it after Jack Fletcher at a price tag of over $60,000. We helped facilitate the wrestling room. We helped put irrigation systems and lighting and new wells over at Parker at a zero cost to the town of Chelmsford. So I'm very accessible, Joe. It's easy to find me. It's certainly easy to find me in the fall, but it's easy to find me in the phone book too.
Right. Well, we appreciate you coming on the show. Are there any last thoughts you have as far as where you want to see the direction of the school committee go?
I think this, Joe. I think so many people have asked me, gee, Sal, maybe there was a different position that you should be running for. And just today, I heard a wonderful friend of mine say, maybe I thought I was going to see you as a town rep or a congressman someday. You know what? The school committee is a thankless job, but it's a job that you do because you put kids in front of yourself. And Joe, if you can look yourself in the mirror every single day, you have to ask yourself one question. If not me, then who? If not now, then when? So having said that, Joe, you know, I want to do this for the kids. I want to do this for our community. I love our community. I'm passionate about our family, which is Chelmsford. And I want people to know that if they vote for me, they're voting for the right candidate. And I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking for you guys to vote for Sal Lupoli on April 7th.
Now, you could have sent your kids to any school in the world. Why Chelmsford High?
You know, Joe, you're right. I worked hard my whole life. I was born in East Boston. I was raised in Chelmsford. My house was 1,800 square feet. My mother and father raised 6 boys. We ate a lot of pasta, not because we liked it, Joe. I got to tell you the truth. And I worked really hard, and our family was in a position when my daughter was born, and somebody said this to me, what private school are you going to send Mary to? And then when Sal was born, what private school are you going to send your son Sal to? And Joe, I didn't even blink an eye. I said, I'm sending them to the best private school I know. That's the Chelmsford Public Schools. So my kids, myself, my brothers, our family went through the Chelmsford Public Schools. I believe in the Chelmsford Public Schools. We will be one of the great school systems out there. Failure is not an option. Perception will change. My kids are in the Chelmsford Public Schools. They have a great, diverse culture. They're well-rounded. The administration is off the charts. They're terrific. They're deans. My daughter talks about her dean every single day. They're best friends. That is her mentor. That's what makes Chelmsford so great. So I'm proud to have sent my kids to a private school called Chelmsford.
We appreciate that. I know you already said it, but we're going to give you the opportunity to look at the camera because Dennis Reddy always used to do this. Ask for the vote. Tell them how they can get a hold of you, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the campaign trail.
I hope you give me the opportunity on April 7th to vote for Sal Lupoli. I won't let you down. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can go to my website, votesal.org, and you'll see an opportunity to place an email there. I'd love for people to get on my website and volunteer or help me out in any way. I need as much help as I can, because when you're in local politics, you know, it's all about building a base. It's all about building relationships, and that's what I want to do. I want to continue to build relationships, but I need your vote, and I need to get in to roll up my sleeves to make some wonderful things happen and to be part of a team.
Well, we appreciate it. We wish you a lot of luck on the campaign trail.
Thanks, Joe.
Hope to have you on.
And thanks for your time.
Absolutely.
And thank you for your time.
Yeah.